You will need a wallet pattern, leather, a self-healing mat, an x-acto knife, a cork-backed ruler, 2 thick sewing needles, waxed thread, a solid wood awl, a leather edge burnisher, and scissors. First, you're going to want to cut out your paper pattern. I'm using this pattern by Bear Makes, which I have linked in the description. And in general, if you just look up DIY leather pattern free, something like that, a lot will show up on Reddit or YouTube, and it's a great way to first learn how to work with leather. With my 4 pattern pieces, I'm going to puzzle them onto my leather and cut out these shapes. So if this is my piece of leather, I'm going to align the pattern piece A right along the edge and then B right under it. So just cutting along these red lines. I've cut along the straight edges first, and then I'm going back in and cutting the little curves out, indicated in red here. And then finally, I'm doing that one line that's going to separate A and B. And now I have the 2 pattern pieces and then 2 leather pieces that are the same dimension. It's much easier to cut out the shape based off the paper pattern if you tape it. So I'm just using some painter's tape, rolling it up and sticking it onto the leather. I'm using my ruler as a guide along the edge of the pattern and using my x-acto knife. And notice how for each line, I'm going with the x-acto knife multiple times over the same line. You are most likely not going to be able to go and pierce through the leather in a single cut. It'll be multiple shallow cuts, so just be patient. Now you have a piece of leather cut to size with the corresponding pattern piece. And remember how there are holes along the edge, right? Now we're going to punch holes in all of those holes along the edge. I would recommend this for your setup where your self-healing mat is at the bottom. You have a scrap piece of leather above that, and then your actual wallet leather at the very top, so that when you drill the solid wood awl down in, you are trying to do as little damage to your table underneath. And actually what I don't show in that diagram before is that your paper pattern is still going to be on top of your leather, and that is going to guide where you punch your holes. And it's pretty crucial that all of these holes ultimately line up, so that's why I would recommend stabbing your pieces of leather with the paper as a guide on top. Once you have your holes drilled, you can start thinking about the overall construction. So basically, if you followed the pattern pieces from Bear Makes, you're going to stack A on top of B, D on top of C, and then flip one of those around and they're going to be back to back. So you can see this in the video demonstrated. So if that wasn't super clear, I've color-coded A as purple, B as green, C as orange, and D as red for you to see it better. We'll lay B down and then stack A on top as one pocket, then we'll lay C down and stack D on top as another pocket. As another way to visualize it, A and B are combining as the first 2 panels, C and D are meeting as the back 2 panels, and then the 2 pockets will join each other. Here I'm stacking the panels as I showed previously, and then right now it's really important that all the holes match up. So I like to take a needle that I'm not going to use to sew to punch through a main hole, just so that the pieces stay together as I'm sewing. Now I will attempt to explain to you a saddle stitch, which is the stitch that is usually used for leather like this. So you're going to start with 2 thick needles and you're going to thread them properly. But first you're going to measure your thread, which is going to be twice the distance of your shape, whatever that is. So here I'm just going around the bottom part of the wallet and then doubling back because I want twice that length. And then I always like to have a little bit extra just in case. And just cutting the thread with scissors or an x-acto knife in this case. Taking one end of the thread and a needle, you'll first go through the eye of the needle as you would normally a normal sewing needle. And now you're going to push the thread together and you'll see that a couple fibers come apart. just like this. As you push the thread towards each other, it should fray open just like this. You're going to take the needle and pass through that fraying. Do it one more time, and eventually you'll see a figure S. Then you can pull the thread down past the eye of the needle, and it should be a pretty seamless join. Repeat that on the other side with another needle, and you'll end up with a long thread with a needle on either side. The holes that we punctured earlier are only on the bottom side, so we're going to start from one end and end at the other end. I used a claw clip to stand my wallet up, and I think you should have something to stand your leather up, whether that's a piece of wood or 2 pieces of wood or between a book. I had a claw clip, so it's what I used. It wasn't very stable, and so this footage is largely unintelligible, but I have some diagrams and hopefully that will help. So remember how we stacked A and B and then D and C, and so B and C are the 2 tallest ones in the middle. That is what I show now, and all of these slats in the middle represent the holes that we punctured. You're going to thread your needle into the second hole, and then you'll push the right needle, which is color-coded in blue, into the first hole. Then your red needle can go into that first hole as well and pass by the blue thread, and then you can tighten it. And now I'm going to flip the wallet upside down to continue in the other direction. Now we can take the blue needle, which is on the right side, thread it through the hole above, and then take the red needle, which is on the left side, and thread it through the same hole. So remember, it's the right side that goes into the hole above first, every single time, and then the left side, which then goes back in through the same hole that the red just came out of. And I just wanted to highlight how important it is that the needle doesn't get caught in the thread that is already in that hole, because then you can't pull it out. So just be aware. And now you just have to do that until you get to the end of the wallet. When you are nearing the end of your wallet, you just need to do a couple back stitches into holes that you've already stitched. So in the same way that we started off with a back stitch and then stitched over it, you're gonna do that again at the very end. Here I am just finishing up that stitch, that last stitch, and now I'm gonna flip it around just like I did at the beginning and go through a hole that I already punctured through. I'm not really sure if I should speed up this footage or keep it at this speed, because this was a very confusing process for me when I first learned, but it's also something that you can't really learn except by doing it. So yeah, I still have the other needle to poke through this last hole, and I will do this for 2 more stitches. I've reached like the 2nd or 3rd stitch, and now I'll just tighten it and take a pair of scissors and cut as close as I can to the stitch so that you don't see any frayed edges. Just like that, and then do the same for the other side. To finish up your wallet, you're going to burnish the edges. So I have here the almost completed wallet, and I have a little dish of water in that red cap, and I'm just gonna dab a little bit of water and then rub the edge burnisher along that side a couple times. Yay, you've successfully made your first, perhaps, leather wallet all from scratch. And I've attached links below to a saddle stitch video if my explanation wasn't as helpful as you would have liked, and 2 other YouTube links that I have also watched that also have free PDFs for the wallet pattern. So Happy crafting, and please let me know how it goes for you. Thank you so much for watching.